What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. On last week's episode we made our drawer boxes for our dressers and our built-in cabinets. This week we're going to make the drawer faces using the Stepcraft D840 CNC machine. So let's get to it.
Alright guys, just like any other project, we're going to start with our track saw, break down sheet goods before heading over to the table saw. So here we go. Alright, so now we're hopping over to VCAR, which is the program I use to design anything I cut on the CNC. It'll generate the tool paths and the G codes needed in order to cut the piece at hand. So I'm inputting the size of the drawer faces, which we just cut over at the table saw, which are 24.5 by 9 3/4, 3/4 inch thick. So we're going to go with like a shaker style look for this drawer. So in order to do that, we're going to create another rectangle, which is 3 inches smaller on each side. That'll give us the inset look once we pocket out that other rectangle. So once we got that created, we'll just go ahead and center it on the workpiece, and you can kind of see what I was just talking about. So that leaves us with 1.5 inch reveal on all sides, which is basically act as your face frame. So now we need to calculate our tool paths. So we're going to select that rectangle we just made. We're going to choose a cut depth of 0.25 inches. That's how deep we want our pocket. And for this, we're going to use a 1/4 inch end mill to, it's basically like a roughing pass. It's going to clear out the majority of the material. And then we will add a 1/16 of an inch bit to make a finishing pass on just the edges to clean up those corners, and just the edges in general. So as you can see, I've got all that here. I'm just editing everything. For some reason, it's not showing up on the screen, making my selections for the amount of passes and the depth of each pass, but that's kind of what we got going on. So once we have all those settings selected, we'll hit calculate, and that'll go ahead and generate the toolpath for us. All right, so now that we've calculated our toolpath, we can go ahead and preview it. So we'll go ahead and select preview all toolpaths. That'll preview the clearing pass and the finishing pass, which you'll see here in just a second. So as you can see, now it has created that shaker style look. We have that 1/4 inch pocket, which was the rectangle we created. Now VCAR is pretty cool because it allows you to preview your workpiece in tons of different species of wood. You can even choose a solid color, which we'll be going with on this project. So once it's painted white, that'll be what the finished product looks like. Now that we've got all that created, we'll go ahead and bring it to the CNC and cut it. So right here I'm applying some double-sided adhesive. It's actually carpet tape, but I prefer to use this because number one, it's cheap, and number two, it's really sticky. So this is totally optional. As you can see, I do have some hold down clamps there in the T-tracks. This is just a little bit of added support to make sure the workpiece doesn't move during cutting. So we've got everything clamped down. We're going to go ahead and add in our 1/4 inch end mill, which we'll use to do our roughing pass. So get that nice and tightened down. And then once that's tight, we're going to go ahead and zero it to the workpiece using our touch probe. So I highly recommend using some type of dust boot with your CNC machine, especially when cutting MDF, because you can see it makes an absolute mess. It creates a ton of dust. I try to do my best here while videoing to get it all cleaned up, but that stuff just gets everywhere. Now that we've got our panel roughed out and most of the material cleared with that 1/4 inch end mill, we're going to zero off our 1/16 of an inch end mill and go ahead and get those edges nice and crisp.
Alright guys, that's going to wrap up this week's episode. I went ahead and threw 2 of the drawer boxes and faces into the cabinet just so you can kind of see the style that we went with and what it's going to look like when it's done. If you like what you saw this week, leave us a like, a comment down below. Let us know. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. I try to check those out every video and personally answer each one. And go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. So in next week's episode, I'm going to show you how we attach the drawer fronts we just made onto the drawer boxes themselves. So thanks for following along guys, and we'll see you on the next one.